All right, we are now tuned in. You are now tuned in to the 18th annual Happily Natural. Uh, wow. So we moving. Give thanks for Brother Kalanji John Machanka from the FTP movement. Uh, I hope you took some notes. You know, meaning the reality is that we need more, we need tangible, direct action that's married to public policy. You know, the reality is we got a lot of public policy, but we don't be having a lot of direct action in our community. And that's something that we need to fix. So today, next, up to up to next up to bat, so to speak, is a really good brother that I've met over the last couple of years. Uh, brother named Michael Carter of Carter Farms and also AFRIculture. Um, he's going to be rocking with us today. But hold on, before I do that, let me make sure. Hold up. Uh, let me see. Is my folks from Wild Seed, are y'all on the call? All right, guess not. So let me mute them. I'm gonna bring you up, brother. What's you?
What's good with you?
Oh man, I'm doing good. So far so good, man. You know, we had to deal with a little bit of turbulence in the beginning, but now the plane is we're you know we're in the air and we're you know we're on point to our destination. So it feels good.
With no microwave militancy.
Yeah, look.
I love that, brother. His analysis. We need
Yeah.
a pilot.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad to have you on the call today. You know, we're doing you know, this the 18th annual Happily Natural Day. And you know, having you on here today is really a great marriage of the work around African identity and sustainable agriculture that we've evolved into over you know the last 10 years or so, right? So it's kind of interesting, you know what I mean, that we would be doing this in a virtual forum, considering how hands-on the work is when we're talking about talking about ag and farming and growing. But I'm thankful nonetheless to have you here to share with us. And so I'm presuming that you have you know like some sort of PowerPoint or something like that you want to share, or what's up?
I got one. I didn't know how you was going. I watched the other presenters. I'm like, okay, well, I did too much.
Well, you know,
Just having a beautiful conversation.
I don't know, I don't know if Kalanji had a PowerPoint or not. Maybe I should have asked him. Right into the mix, but I do want to give you an opportunity to share. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I think you should be able to share if you have one now.
Okay, no problem.
See if it lets you get it.
Yeah, I was enjoying the other presenters. Like I'm that geek that did too much class. I'm like,
no man. Hey, look, give it up, give it all you got.
So by all means, chime in. I ain't trying to make this a lecture.
I had a PowerPoint. I was like, I thought my sister Amaris was gonna be able to get on the call because she was having some Wi-Fi issues. I was about to whip my joint. I was like, yeah, I'm about to do my old thing. But yeah, you got it, man. I know you got some stuff that you want to put forward to the people.
Well, I mean, I think in light of this, and even before I begin, and honor and recognize ancestors, elders who came before us, on whose shoulders of them and their sacrifice, everything, we wouldn't be here to have a conversation. And you know, listening and kind of went over my head how I wanted to share. And it became a telling thing of, what I always hear these most conferences with us. Before I begin that, I'll just share brief AFRIculture. AFRIculture is a Virginia-based 501c3 nonprofit discovers, honors, and enhances African descent and their contribution to agriculture. And onto my history a little bit beforehand, before returning back to the United States. In 2017, I was in Orb in Israel of the Hebrew Israelite community in the ministry of their divine agriculture. And, I lived at least 15 of my years of my life, name and understanding, based in DC. But then in Israel, and later on in Ghana, 5 years from 2012 to 2018, repatriated, no plans of ever returning back to America, but yet here I am. And what I hear a lot, or what I've heard a lot, is what we need to do. It always frustrated me in various conferences and, circumstances of conversations with folks of consciousness of sort. Like just, we've been doing this for 20 years easy, longer. And just raising consciousness before we were woke, we just, after this woke things, we'll still be conscious. And we study the elders, those ancestors, set their feet. And, I always like to give praise to those individuals as well who paved our way in terms of knowledge and understanding to get us to this point. First thing we need to do is know where, as the brother before me was stating, which is clear, even the first that was speaking, we are at war. And we've been at war June 18, 1452. That date doesn't ring a bell to you. Look, that official papal patent from Pope Nicholas V, given to Alfonso V of Portugal, who instructed the navigator to make non-white people verses. And it's pretty much saying that the Saracens and the pagans were to be put into service. And it started the initial launch into of African people, west coast of Africa, with him and the navigator kidnapping several individuals and bringing them back to Portugal. And we've been at war. These last, this last year has been for a lot of people. But the last 500 years, we've just made it normal. We normalized it, made us kind of live with it without it, made it look easy. So now having experienced effects of their liberties and freedom of movement, now to 2020 is now in trash. It is the same as 2019, 18, 16 for us Africans. But again, what we do is buy Black farmers. That's the first thing that we work to do basis is for our Black farmers. They need our help. We boycotted them for 100 and some odd years, at least the last 100 years, where we didn't support. We made it so they couldn't make their vocation a business. And we vacated them to the point that now we're an endangered species. Fifth generation farmer. Fifth generation free farm sorts on our own land. Prior to that, my family has been doing agriculture against their will at least 11 generations since the earliest 1745 to potentially 16. So we've been doing culture for a long time. And I'm probably the worst farmer of all my ancestors, all my years. But I understand the importance of Black farmers, and I've been doing pretty much all my life because I had no choice. And one of the key things in supporting Black farmers, changing your diet. And that changes of what you eat, but how you eat. And I guess would be as well. These products from corn, soybeans, cotton seed, sugar, oil, rapeseed, canola oil. All of these products are generally grown by larger non-Black folks. Ideally, when you're eating these non-Black foods, you're definitely supporting a large agricultural complex that's not in your interest, that's causing the disease that things like colon cancers in people. And I bring colon cancer, the death of the Chadwick, who social media, that things to your doorfront. We were all, I'm sure, skimming through Facebook sometime or Instagram, and you get a post saying he died. colon cancer. You know, most of us, I know, speak for myself, my father had colon, his brothers had colon, his cousins had colon cancer, my uncles, my great uncles, all had colon cancer. Either killed from it or had type of surgery in their colon to sustain themselves. But in my family, and what's the big difference? What and how we eat. Eating processed food, processed meats that ultimately give you health issues with your colon, how you diet and eliminate your foods. The thing we have to do in black farmers is consume more fresh fruits and vegetables. And identically, we've gotten spoiled with eating bananas all year round. In a country that grows banana, we actually eat. Banana is the most popular, most consumed fruit in the United States. Yet the only place you can grow them is ideally California and Florida. And we import bananas for the most part.
It's Morgan. Morgan. It's a Morgan since there.
There's only we good?
You good? Go ahead for that.
No problem. So consuming more fresh vegetables in season, I mean, it's, and give you a insight about black farmers. Black farmers have a limited window of growth in terms of when they grow. We generally grow from April, May till about October, when it first freezes, usually kills everything. And in that process, when you look at supply, you're growing fruits and vegetables. Let's say right now, or next week or two, there's going to be a sweet corn coming up, at least in Virginia. It varies based upon graphic and environmental factors in the various states our farmers are growing. But it's going to be a whole sweet corn coming out. But the supply issues of demand, when there's a large supply, the price goes down. So last month, you may have saw a lot of come in the market. They got tomatoes, white farmers got tomatoes, supermarket tomatoes, and now tomatoes are coming in, and they're coming in 50 cents a pound. So we're losing because we're having to compete against others. Like a home, these things require income. And it requires us to be able to support our farmers and institutions so that they can sustain themselves for 5 generations, for 6 or 7 generations. For us to provide them our dollar, I would say. You vote dollars. That's the voting day have is every day that you go out and spend. You're telling someone that you want them to stay in business. You want to support them with your dollar, and you're showing that time in real action. It's not a cast vote or a ballot, and then hoping that someone who's elected will keep your interest. Every day that you go out, you spend money with whomever money with, you're supporting them and showing them to stay in this. You're supporting efforts so they can sustain and pay their bills tomorrow so that they can stay in business for as long as you continue to support. Well, black farmers don't always, because when it comes to produce, we the lowest price. Walmart, I think, is the biggest seller of fresh produce in the country. You know, farmers sell to Walmart. So it's, or at least now. In Virginia, I know farmers who grow Walmart, and they're black. The type of operation they have to be able to grow those individuals is massive. So when you're supporting those institutions, when you're going through Amazon to buy vegetables, when you're going to grocery stores to buy vegetables, be very mindful that when you don't know who they're coming from, it's not a black farmer. For those farmers in your area, if you don't, there's plenty of directories on to help you out. If you're in Virginia, contact me or Duran, we can point you to much black farm locale in this state to support them, help. They need your support, they need your dollar. The next thing we need to do something, get our hands back in the soil. Right now, food has been used. Familiar with Henry Kissinger and his US Global 1000 memo. He was saying, when you use a weapon. You go back 100 years before then, Frederick Douglass said food was used as a weapon. Booker T. Washington understood that, you know what, we're going to weaponize for ourselves. Weaponize this weapon for ourselves. And that's what he did. And ultimately what Tuskegee became, and George Washington and Booker T. Washington and others really showed us how to grow something, sustain ourselves through our food. And even our grandmother, you know, as I'm going back to the previous slide, supporting black farmers, our grandmothers, They understood the value of what Black farmers were producing, and they started to can the surplus vegetables that made it sustain them, but also to farmers, so that nothing would go to waste. Biggest challenge that Black farmers had during times of plenty is where you don't get enough money to make it worthwhile to give away. You make it, and then it's still waste at a food hub, at a food bank, or somebody's refrigerator, somebody's counters. Coming back to how to preserve this food via canning, which is not done. You can YouTube it. The flow is done. It's very easy, and it involves both with food security and as well as supporting Black farmers, especially during this time between now and probably next month, when there'll be an influx of produce coming from farms throughout this region. And when you're growing, especially the first time growing, second time growing, failure is not an option. You're gonna fail. Accept it. It's gonna not come out maybe they wanted it to. It doesn't mean you don't try, you don't do it again and again until you get it right. Farmers fail all the time. You know how many times I planted some seeds, they didn't germinate, they didn't understand who we were and what we brought to the table. Many of us cultures and had a great idea of agriculture. Even those who don't subscribe to us being brought from Africa, those individuals who were here, the folks here, of African others, they were agriculturalists. They knew how to grow. They knew how to live within the earth, within their season and their time. We hear often about the three seasons: squash, corn, and beans. And indigenous individuals here, nations here, growing that as staples. They understood that, grew something within. They didn't care about it failing. They put in the soil, know that something's gonna come up. It's another level of faith and spirituality that comes from working with the soil. And when you're growing something, do it, especially if you're outside. That earth can hear you, it can feel, it can understand you, your vibrations, your energy, however you want to describe it, but it picks you up when you're barefoot. Let the earth feel, let you feel there, and it's such a great de-stressor, especially in these times, individuals not equipped maybe to deal with stresses. And there seems to be an influx that's coming upon us on a regular basis. The next thing we need to do is becoming a farmer much easier than you may think. This requires an application to the nearest local USDA office, applying to become a farmer. It costs you nothing. Do say that means an apartment, if you're in a condo, if you're in a single home, if you're in a trailer, it doesn't matter. You can live in grow in a container. You can grow greens. You can grow salad trays. You can grow. And if you grow, you can become registered farmer. This has a tremendous effect. There's one getting our Black farmer numbers up. Right now, nationwide, they say we have about 40,000 Black farmers in the state of Virginia. We have 1,500 Black farmers. In reality, in both of those things, it's probably 10% of those actual farmers, individuals who work the land and till the land, produce a crop. Many of those other individual landowners. But the benefit to being a farmer, the foundation of this white lands, you'd be able to turn it from the many benefits USDA offers in terms of being a Black farmer in general. COVID, PPP, and up to now, I think we're deadline offering check farmers who've had any type of in their crop. I got my check. There's a lot of individuals receive a lot larger get. Increase farmers and proud of that, and then benefit of being a farmer. There are tax breaks for farm, tremendous tax breaks, allows you to keep your income into other areas that you may need, and require anything but an USDA FSA, which go to US Gov or farmers.gov, you can get directed to local office and 5 to 10 minutes have it completed, and then after that you can have, if you decide with that being and have. It has more benefits than you may, especially if you do have some land that you're not using or et cetera. Putting that in farm, having a farm use your tax land tremendously. You can become a forest farmer, growing trees, and how to growing is what you're growing. How about becoming a Black farmer in general? The next thing you do has nothing to do with that. We have to buy from Black business for everything possible. These are things that has to be done to sustain us, especially during this instability of racial tension, racial bias, et cetera. Support our Black businesses. And don't just support them during Juneteenth. So this the cultural one, support the insurance companies, support the real estate office, the CEOs, the accountants, the farmers, the nonprofit. Support all of them with your money. Again, your money, every put your money toward anything, you're voting for them to stay in the business. How many of us know of any area that's went out of business in our community? Just know of any hair salons that went out of business, not hair salons, but industries owned by Asians went out of business. We continually with our dollars in our communities. I ain't never known why stores go out of business, but not a lot. Just money. Those who to do something great, provide services for, they make others, but they're also there to help you, to give you a sense of relatability with our customers. I mean, with us and with customers. I love to go into business to be a couple $100 business. I feel good. But I've helped out small business continue to stay in business because a vote for them is a vote for someone else, but not voting for them with your dollar definitely put them in a potentially going. Deposit money in Black bank. This is the second thing after you start Black businesses. We have to do as well. What an author wrote a book called The Black Tax called the PhD, Purchase, Hire, and Deposit. Purchase from Black businesses. Purchasing from Black businesses allows Black businesses to hire those in their community to support. Sometimes you hire who you know. You hire within your network, especially when you're small. And our network who? Us. Community. Young people who may need jobs. And once individuals start depositing more money in Black banks, they can provide loans and more opportunities for other businesses to continue to grow in those. These are just a few small lists of banks that you can support in the areas in Virginia, Maryland, Industrial DC. United Bank, I think it's the largest bank in the country at Boston, but they have branches around the country. United account online. Moving much to online, most don't go to a bank. You can put ATMs, very little if you use even ATMs anymore. Our bank out of Maryland, Broadway Federal is out of City of DC, and I just merged Broadway Federal Bank. Virginia State Credit gives us another. We have to put our money where many of us don't work with banks anyway. All good. Keep it on your mattress. You need to do. Those who deposit in banks, let's switch to trust from Fargo, from Bank of America to some of these, and help to build up in the deposits so they can invest more in us. Next thing we need to do is buy and invest in land, property. I am a fifth-generation farmer, and the family bought 100 years ago. Decent value, but they say almost 1,000, be a million-fold. At least 10,000 piece. My great-grandfather, great-great-parents land in 1910 for $22. My great-grandfather bought his in 15 for $250. Both those, the larger one is probably over $1 million in value now, and the one in smaller property, about 25 acres, probably closer to 500 right now. Well, I say it's 150, 200,000 right now. What other investment could you have in 1910 that in 100 years would be back that much? There's no investment in Georgia. Any type of vehicle, would it be a Cadillac Escalade, Rolls Royce, none of those trinkets are going to be able to provide you a income. None of those things are going to hold back. Those are not assets, they're trinkets. It's the same thing that happened to us when we were sold here. Individuals trade trinkets for us. There's no those that was talking on this now for the fruit trade. Some have any value, then you got to learn from the answers. Not the bad would it be money, because money is nothing but of your time. It's a traded time. You work your job for 8 hours a day, they give you dollars for your time. Time and news, perfumes, foods, etc. You want to buy out the bar. And I may be dating myself. Back in my day, it was passive. Cavassier that's not investing in land or real estate, in rural areas. Look at your state and they're not saying value or the amount of buying in DC right now, that's in probably out as far as but if you go to some of these other places, realestate.com, realtor.com, you can find, you know, in Amelia County, outside, I should say, but the rural area, find an acre for $5 for this. Buy your freedom. Buy something that's going to be, and that's to live a lot longer than you will. And this is a copy of the deed my grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and my great-great-grandfather. Just so you know, I won't sell them whoop tickets. This is the one on the left is from 1950. My great-grandfather purchased $122.05. And you see the date on that was, I'm trying to find the date. But September 5th, 1910. Jeff, Shirley, and Catherine, my great-great. To the right is my John Lewis, and it's land for $207, 1915. Our history didn't sacrifice websites in that time period in 1915. Just have us set 2020. That land is worth. Keep it for as many as possible. Still your children, do not sell it. Because individuals are coming, especially with the stimulus thing, PPP loans and the UAE money that's been given out. White farmers got a whole nother lot of money. They got 15, 20,000, 30,000 that the USDA maintaining their farm. They're looking for more land and they're looking to buy it from, they don't know any better. After they invest and buy a couple of 15s and buy all the ammo in the store, then they go out and buy property. While we're here, we got to maintain reality. Next thing we got to do, we all got one. We're like assholes. Everybody got one, right? And knowing our story, you got to understand, you know, where you came from. There's some pride in it. Here on the left, rather, is my great-grandmother's grandmother, Courtney Ellis. And to the right is the slave inhabitants. That's how they took this, the enslaved Africans in this, or at least in the county of Orange, with my portion of my family. And if you look to the right document, there's a judge, you see ROBT, Robert Ellis. He was her, I'm assuming he was her, quote unquote, slave owner. Somewhere in these numbers is she's listed. They don't give us the dignity. They don't acknowledge our sex, our gender. They just have us as a name, and a number was not a social security number, was just the age. Now, value to according to what your service was as a male enslaved person. But this is what our reality, June 22nd, and many of us have to find a level of not shame out of this, that the seeds that we're planting are now, the seed in them are now us, not giving up. I've tried repatriating in Africa, and I realized the biggest thing I didn't have was individuals without country. We didn't have a that we could be proud of. And in Ghana, everybody knew the history of their family, of their people. Whether you were Air, whether you were Fanti, whether you were Hausa, you knew your people, you knew your home, you knew your language. They robbed us of all of that. And we've had to create and continue to create, to do more research and find them stories and our ancestors and that legacy, because they are driving force. They should be our fuel for achieving our goal. You know, mention this later on, but they had an where they came here. Of us living out of our, we need to really focus on living out the. Encourage each and every one of you all to take a pilgrimage to Africa, wherever your heart just drives you, wherever, and just spin a globe point. But find Ghana's a great place. Senegal's a great place to go. It's a great place to start because they section with us as their brothers and sisters. You know, it's a great place as well, but it isn't there. Slave trade took us in a different place. Their understanding of that slave trade. So, you know, we have a lot of experiences with the coast of West Africa. I definitely believe the slavery real. Dungeons. You go to slave dungeons in the crowd. When you visit, you feel how militant, how whatever you think you might. You walk into those places, there's an energy deny energy of those enslaved Africans, those kidnappers who were captured and boiled and marched down from they lived to the 200, 300 miles at some point. Walk through the woods, the jungle, barefoot. With, as I often say, with this much food and water, we often start our story at the middle passage. We got to have a big message, and we've got to acknowledge that's who endure any of that, whose names we know, whose history we understand, whose culture we may never have any, because many of our people they're exterminated. Their villages are original Ghanaians, original Ivory Coast, not any larger tribes, ethnic groups and nations in the 1500s, hundreds, or the 8th, but those original individuals from different spirituality than what we even know as or Khan, and some of these other things. They were, say, conquered, but their cultures were usually merged into the dominant culture of that community. So, again, exploring, we need more of us to explore those stories. We all got them. They're like I asked, figure them out, and and share them. That's one we all should do. We all should share our story. Opportunity to next stories.
I thought that was allowed. I talked something allowed.
Story now. Okay. Again, the next thing we need to do is about our African dreams and vision. We all got a dream or a vision. I've been blessed. I think Brother Manifest, Brother Ron has had that boldness. Something comes to your mind, you just go ahead and get it done. You don't care what it is that comes to it, what vision it is, what it is that you have. You have to get it, you get and do it. And I think Happy Day is a reflection of that. I would definitely say that my experience living in Ghana. My bad. Got a racist signal.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yay.
Give us
Okay, wait. We can hear you that well. Let's turn this.
All right. I think we're good now.
All right. Hi.
Hey, Fancy, give us 15 minutes. Give us 15 minutes to finish out this presentation, then I'm going live with y'all, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Hello.
Hi, Fancy.
How get you back on the how get your screen back to sharing?
I don't know. It said it was, but let me see.
Okay. There you go. You're not seeing it on your end? Okay, there you go.
I'm right there. Okay.
I'm right there. Okay. Good. Now you back up. Hold on.
All right. Sorry about that.
Go. There you go.
So living out these African dreams is essential. I mean, whatever the creators put in our soul to push out, whatever the answers put in our soul, we got to share. That's bring me back here. My father came to visit me on his last sojourn. He told me, going back, go over the farm, nobody else was gonna be there. And once I heard him, I knew what he was saying, because I heard Africans saying that all the time. My father said, "Come home." Could never disrespect your parents in terms of not reaching that call. The call was such a deep call because I was building a home there, I was building a little community there. And one of the things that I was working with, at least one of the workers that was land I was on that I put upon was stating that this will be ours again. Running down the time of the end of our lease. A non at that time, I couldn't land. I could only lease it. And I dragged my feet for 10 years. So I was down to 42 years, somewhere in there. And he was just waiting for us to finish up with that land, be able to take it over. His children would be able to take it over. And I said, oh my goodness, this is nuts, pretty much plotting on us at this point. And I'm like, I got land here that I need to really deal with. I don't have to worry about anybody plotting on it. And as I, again, went into that and really shared it with my family and could understand more about why that call. I'm just going to run on these, my cell phone here.
Yeah, the signal's bad, but it's all good.
Yeah. I'm just going to run my cell phone here and not share the screen anymore, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Yeah. And the next thing we got to do is be healthy. You know, it's critical for us to be healthy. You know, as our brother Chadwick.
Yeah.
As our brother Chadwick just.
Okay, which one do you want me to mute? The phone or the video? All right, boom. That's it. You have to let one of them go, either the video or the phone.
Yeah, the laptop's been giving me the issue. So.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Sorry about that. I live in the woods, and this is the price I pay for living in the woods. Very poor internet. But I got land, so I can't. I'll sacrifice that any day of the week.
Trade-off is like, okay, well, I got some acres.
Yeah. I got my 40 acres and a mule and then some. 40 acres and a John Deere. Yeah, so and so the next thing is just being healthy, you know, picking out what we want to have in our spaces, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, you know, taking those social media breaks, just media breaks in general. The news is not the news, it's the blues. And it's a new age blues. It ain't no longer like B.B. King and Johnny Blue Bland and all them. It's a new age blues that really affects our nervous system. And we've got to be mindful. If we're being assaulted. Our nervous system is being assaulted this time last week, we were about to see another killing. This time last week, we were about to see another killing of another innocent Black man. And it seems like every month there's a new one. And they're feeding upon our sensory skills, sensory health, our nervous system health. That causes us need a desire to be more self-medicated. Healthy mentally, physically, emotionally is critical for us to one of those things that we need to do. The next thing we need to do is invest in stocks of companies we regularly use. You know, we've got to figure out how to make our money grow for us. Many of us may have savings or may not have savings, but we go to certain places on a regular basis. We have favorite institutions that we support that are most likely publicly traded. Would it be Amazon? Would it be Walmart? Would it be Chipotle? Would it be McDonald's? Would it be whomever? Tesla, Apple, Samsung. They're all publicly traded companies that we can now benefit from our patronage. You know, and now with apps like Robinhood and some other apps, you can buy percentages of shares. You ain't got to buy the whole, you know, $3,500 per share of Amazon. You can put up $30 a week, you know, to buy a portion of that. So when you make those orders this week, you can actually be paying yourself through the value of that stock. You know, again, it's one of those things where I grew up in an area where it said, "Scared money don't make no money." And a lot of us want to make sure that we, you know, are making money, especially for the next generation. And I think back to this 2008, you know, 12 years ago, Amazon stock was at $30, $40. Go check the Amazon stock now in 2020. It's $3,000 some odd dollars per share. a $300 investment back in 2008 again would give you $30,000 now. If you had bought Tesla back last year this time when it was $200, Tesla was trading up until the end of this week at almost $2,000 a share. And then the stock split as of this week, or I think today, tomorrow, next, or maybe Tuesday, where they're going to turn that, if you had it at 10 shares, now you're going to have 50 shares. And the price is going to rise back up again. This is how you maintain wealth for your family. This is how you grow wealth and legacy for your family financially, where you can have that support like we saw with a whole lot of other folks who didn't have to worry about going back to the office during the COVID reality. Forget it, I ain't got to go back. I can live off a few stocks for a couple months. I'll be all right. I mean, if we're going to be here, we got to play that game. And like any game that we played of theirs, we generally know how to play it well. After a couple tries at it, we figure out how to master it. And you can't show one game that we ain't taking over to the point that they're creating new games. And you see old championships on ESPN and Spartan Race championships. They had to create new games to keep us out because we mastered the games that they've done before. Well, finances, the dollar, capitalism is all a game. We can master that the same way. And I mean, it's nothing like mastery and then having, 6, 7, 8 figures behind your name. You get a whole nother type of appreciation when you go to the bank. Mr. Carter, glad you came by. We've got to invest in those things, in gold, silver, in addition to stocks and ourselves. Don't be scared to invest in yourself. One of the next things we need to do is be a positive influence to our children. I don't know if we understand what that always means at times, but we got to be what that great uncle was to us, that showed us the way, that said the right things to us to change our direction or our course, especially when you're dealing with teenagers. I grew up, fortunately enough, in a community of Black men. I didn't know too many individuals who didn't have fathers in my community. I didn't have fathers who were actually engaged, even if their parents weren't together, they were there. I didn't realize till I got much older how valuable that is to be brought up, especially. It's racist. I'm going outside. All right, we'll try this now. Sorry about that. But having an opportunity to grow up with Black men and Black women, and communities where you could talk to your auntie about, issues you're having, and your uncle about issues you're having. We've got to learn how to mine our most valuable resources, our ancestors. Our ancestors are here for a very short period of time, but they have some wisdom that we can't always appreciate, but we need to hear it. We need to get that information from them. We've got to, do some other things with our families, create traditions beyond just what society's given us. If you celebrate Christmas, if you're Muslim and you celebrate Ramadan, even if you're Pan-Africanist and you celebrate, Kwanzaa and Juneteenth, create some family traditions beyond just the cultural mainstream things. We go out August 20th, August 21st, we go out to our, for lack of a better term, our family's plantation. Shirley Plantation, the oldest plantation in Virginia, to go, pay homage to our ancestors around the time of the first time that our ancestors came here as enslaved Africans. There's nothing written in the book. I don't post nothing about social media about it. It's just something that we can do as a family, and my children can now appreciate the value of this history. Again, it's critical for us to kind of take ownership of our story, our history, and our experiences, and not allow others to shape it and influence it. Whether it be Pan-Africanists, whether it be pro-Black, whether it be various spiritual institutions, create your own. They're much more valuable, and they're going to be longer lasting and have a much greater effect on your family, your community, and your legacy than just going with the flow of whatever community you're a part of. Whether it be the American community, the African Hebrew community, our set community, you know, the UNIA community, you'll find hiccups in those communities. You'll find fringes, you'll find breakups, you'll find disappointment. But if you start doing things for yourself, they have, you know, as much as you may disappoint yourself, you can still keep those things at core. You know, so you don't throw away your traditions, your values, because you created your own. You're not depending upon anyone else for anything else. You know, we kind of utilize a lot of these social movements, these African-centered social movements, as our crutch to still not be who we need to be as individuals. As, you know, we can be a part of a great community, but we also have to be great individuals. And we have to find value in that as well. We cannot, you know, substitute, you know, the American way or Christianity or whatever thing we're running away from for someone else's thing. We got to create our own thing. And because my laptop is inside and I don't know where I was going to next, I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. For any questions or dialogue, for sure.
And do we have any questions on the social media? Hey, so you know, y'all can feel free if y'all tuned in on the social media, y'all can chime in the comments with questions and thoughts, and we'll post them, or we'll ask the questions of the folks that are presenting. You know what I mean? As swiftly as we can get the insight, get the questions up. I mean, I don't know. So you know, we're kind of figuring this out. There's some methods where we get the questions on Facebook. We got questions. We got people on Instagram. Oh, okay. So there's a question. Where are you located in Virginia?
I'm in Orange County, Virginia, which is in between Charlottesville and Fredericksburg.
Okay.
In the Piedmont area, near Mount Pelier and what's the other place? Monticello.
Okay.
So there was a whole lot of presidential slaveholding around these parts.
So if you're on Twitter, we might not be able to see your questions right at this moment, but we'll get back to you with them. My question for you, Michael, is you know, you and I've had lots of conversations about African crops.
Mm-hmm.
Just to talk a smidge about that, and then we're gonna go ahead and introduce wild seed to the family. I mean, when I say a smidge, I mean give you know, something to give folks something to chew on, you know, as it relates to.
I got you. I'm sorry, I got caught up in other stuff. I forgot what I actually do. My bad. So this is let me see if I can get this. This is one of the main crops I grow here. It's in some cultures, or in Ghana, it's called inkatumere. In probably the Caribbean, they call it cocoa yam leaf. In Hawaii, they call it poi. Other areas, they call it taro. I'll show you another one as well. These are some of the things that we grow here for the African market. We also grow hot peppers, okra, green called managu, which is out of West Africa, East Africa. So within, you know, AFRIculture, we grow specialty African vegetables. Living in Africa for 5 years, I ate what the Africans ate because that's what we had to eat, you know. So there I was growing like kale and broccoli and cabbage and selling it to a niche market in Accra, Ghana. And when I returned back to the United States, I saw the same opportunity on this side, just in reverse, of being able to grow these vegetables that you can't get here in the United States, but that individuals want badly. So there in Ghana, I was growing orange sweet potato. They had a sweet potato that was white. But there was a lot of African Americans there and other folks there who was like, okay, we want sweet potatoes, we want collards, we want kale. Cool. So we'll grow that. And we were able to develop a niche market on that side. And for any farmer, a niche market is by far your best market. And a niche market just means a very customized market for very customized people.
So I work with farmers throughout the state in growing these niche vegetables of what we call garden eggs, Scotch bonnet peppers or hot peppers, um, the taro leaf, callaloo or amaranth. And we grow these things. And I definitely encourage not as for us to grow it, but us to change our palate to start eating and consuming these things. I think that's one area that I'm sure we don't consider as much. And we've had to wait for somebody else to kind of share this with us of eating for our geographic type. Africans should be eating African foods that are ideally grown in Africa. Um, you will see a different countenance in your body, a different level of health when you eat these foods. When you go into Africa, you'll see individuals who look very strong, healthy, who don't age much, who don't have wrinkles, who's not affected as much by the sun. And a lot of that has to do with the food they eat. And we can prepare it in our own special ways. When I was in Ghana, we would have groundnut soup or Nkanti and Kwan, which is peanut butter soup. And it's outstanding. I mean, I absolutely love peanut butter soup, but we have it with cornbread just because it's something familiar to us in terms of what we were still used to, and they grew their corn, and we had, corn flour, as they called it, instead of cornmeal. And we make our cornbread to go along with the Nkanti and Kwan, the peanut butter soup. Um, when you're having these vegetables, and I didn't talk about any of these vegetables, but there are a lot of nutritional values to these vegetables that are cancer preventing, health increasing. The turmeric has I'm gonna see if I can get you a picture real quick. This turmeric has what's called oxalic acid in it. When I break off one of these leaves, I'm gonna take off one of these smaller ones here. There's usually a white liquid that comes out of here. It didn't happen this time because it's on camera, so it's not trying to. So the oxalic acid doesn't allow it to be eaten raw. But it's, to me, from what I've heard or read anyway, it's kind of like cyanide for the cells. That is, oxalic acid helps to fight off other things in your body, but you have to cook it. So if you eat it raw, it'll irritate or scratch your throat. If you pluck it raw and the white stuff gets on your fingers or hands, it'll make your hands itch. And it's the same thing that's found in cassava as well. And I think it's called neutraliside, vitamin B17. And if you look at vitamin B17, you'll see it in apricot seeds as well. And that's what one of the constituent ingredients of fighting various cancers is vitamin B17, which you find in apricot kernels. You'll find, soursop leaf, which grows profusely in West Africa as well, that is used to treat cancers. And you find that a lot of individuals don't really engage in cancers or other illnesses until they engage in the Western diet. And guess what? All us Black Americans, no matter how pro-Black we are, we engage in a Western diet. Vegan or not, vegetarian or not, halal or not, it's all a Western diet. And we had to change what we eat and how we eat, which is a tremendous impact upon our health, short-term and long-term. And we talk about breaking these generational curses. This is the biggest one and usually the hardest one to break, is the generational curse of bad health, because we didn't always have this. This is a newfound occurrence. Generally, the enslaved Africans outlived their masters by 2 or 3 generations because of our diet, our understanding of the diet and importance. Even when we had to eat scraps, we didn't eat a lot of it. You might have had a slither of chitlins. We didn't have a bowl full. And that's, because we look at grandma, we say, and I hear it all the time from my family, grandma, great grandma, she lived to be 95. Her sister lived to be 99. I'm like, what? If you understood how they ate before they got into this modern age, they didn't eat much food. They ate chicken once a week on Sundays. They ate fish when they caught it. They didn't have nitrate. They didn't eat ground beef like that. They may have raised cattle, but they didn't eat beef often. So it's one of those nuances of our culture that we have to really explore and mine out in terms of what's killing us, how we're eating, because the food that we're eating now is not what our great-grandparents ate. The food that we are eating now, no matter where it's coming from, is highly processed. It's highly affected by our environment. The nutritional value that of the grass that the cow eats now is much lower than it was when our ancestors dated. You know.
You bring up a good point about plant-based diets for African people, right? You know,
Hmm.
or I was talking to an elder, we was talking about it, and it made so much sense. It's like, yo, you know, you only had so many pigs. If you
Yep.
had land, right? You know what I mean? You only had, if you lived on the plantation, you didn't have a pig that you owned, right?
Nope.
But if you once out of the after 1865, if you had some land, it wasn't like you could eat pig
Every
every
day.
day. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like you could eat cow every day because this is the animal that you would raise from a cow or whatever the baby pig. That was
A piglet.
a
A
piglet. Yeah,
piglet.
from a piglet to a large pig. You know what I mean? And then if you did eat it, well, when you killed it, you had to slaughter. You would try to preserve the meat. And so that's where all that, salted pork and all that type of stuff came from, right? So if you had that one pig that you slaughtered and it was shared amongst whoever was in the neighborhood or in your area, that chitlin might have been like a festive situation
Yeah.
where you actually like, we slaughtered this one pig that we had,
Hmm.
or a couple pigs that we had, and now as this event we have this chitlin stuff. Same thing with the chickens. It's like you can't kill the chickens because you got to eat the egg because you're eating the eggs. It's like, so if you
Yep.
kill all your chickens, then where you get your eggs from? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we the way we're eating as if we were luxurious. We're eating very luxuriously, considering what our ancestors, that lived that exist that lived after, or during on the plantation or after the plantation, eating meat every day is a friggin' luxury. It's like I'm sure our great grandparents would be like, our great grandparents would be like, wow, they eat steak every day, like
They eat high on the hog.
eating high on the hog, right?
That's where the phrase comes from.
That's
Couldn't
where
eat on a hog every day.
right. So
And that's-
they were explaining that we ate mostly greens, man. We ate the vegetables that we grew, and that was more accessible to us. So as a result, you might have had a little bit of meat, but it was like you had mostly vegetables and rice. You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's what you see in Africa even today, is like you'll see these soups and they have these little pieces of meat inside, so you're eating mostly vegetable soup with a little piece of goat meat and what we would consider to be more fat back than anything else.
Right.
It's not even like a big old it's not like chili with just meat just oozing all over the place every spoon.
Right.
So even then in Africa, we didn't do it in the same manner of gorging ourselves. This is solely an American or even a Western idea and way of eating, and it's having a very negative effect on our health,
Right.
On our families, and then on our vitality and virility on both sides.
Right.
Creating fibroids and cystis and low sperm count in men.
Right. Powerful stuff. So look, man, I gotta go. I want to bring on my sister, because I know she's been waiting. I told her that she was gonna get on here, so we're gonna get on here with her, and then I'm gonna bring on Leah.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Thank you so much for your time, brother. I appreciate you coming in and dropping this so profoundly with us today. That was a nice step by step.
What we need to do.
What we need to do. We need more of those conversations, but I'll be in touch with you, man. We'll see. I'll talk to you later. And thank you for supporting Happily Natural Day, man.
No, always a pleasure.
Peace. Let me see. Where we at? Hey! Look at
Hey! Thanks for coming by.